Hey y'all, so I'm out here at my wheat field today, and it's kind of windy, so I apologize for the wind, but I'm doing a video today that I'm pretty excited to get to share with y'all. The video that I've got today, I'm having my sip with you, and the video I'm doing today is about a parable that Matthew chapter 13 teaches. It's from Jesus, and it's called the parable of the weeds. And a lot of you are probably pretty familiar with this parable, or that it is a parable. But today I want to show you what this is about, rather than just reading about it. So here's some wind for you. So Matthew 13, starting in verse 24, it says, "He put another parable before them, saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while his men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared also. And the servants of the master of the house came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have weeds? And he said to them, An enemy has done this. So the servant said to him, Then do you want us to go and gather the wheat along with them? Let both grow together until the harvest, and at harvest time I will tell the reapers, Gather the weeds first, and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn." So this is the parable of the wheat and the tares. Different versions will use the word tares. And essentially what we've got here is, in this parable, there's a farmer who has planted a wheat field, like I've got a wheat field right behind me. But it says that while his men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds in the wheat, and then they went away. And so it says when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared also. The funny thing is what this means is, whenever the plants started growing, you couldn't tell the difference between a wheat and a tare, or what was wheat and what was a weed. Rather, it looked the exact same. The reason why is because both plants were a type of grass. And so if you get in and you look at what this is meaning, is you didn't know what was wheat and what was grass until the fruit actually came up on top of it. So I've got, actually, the funny thing is I planted a wheat field last winter. This is my winter wheat. It's coming up. It's going to be ready here hopefully within the next couple of weeks. But whenever I planted wheat, my neighbor went out and seeded his field for his cattle, and he seeded annual ryegrass. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to start talking and showing you this stuff. All right, so we're looking at our field now, and I want to show you the difference. This guy right here, what we've got on the outside for sure, this is annual ryegrass. Annual ryegrass, it grows with a little bit at the bottom. It grows up with a stem, right? But then you can see the top, you can see the fruit of this ryegrass. It's a pretty standard grass seed. Now, right over here next to it, and there's some more wind for you, we've got, look, this is wheat. Look at the fruit. You can tell it's wheat because of the fruit. So you can see the stem, the base, whenever this guy actually starts coming up from the ground, they look the exact same. The annual ryegrass and the wheat, they look the exact same. It's not until they put on the head, it's not until they bear fruit. But you can see I've got wheat all through here. It's mostly wheat, except where it's not, right? And that's exactly what happened in the parable that Jesus tells here, is that essentially throughout his entire field, throughout his entire wheat field, he ended up with a complete mixture of wheat and tares, wheat and annual ryegrass. Guys, you can take the seeds from this annual ryegrass and you can eat it, and it's nasty. Or you can take the wheat berries, you can take that wheat and you can grind it up and you can make bread. You can make flour. It's good. And so you know what it is by its fruit. All right, so I've come back inside because of how windy it is outside. But the video and what I just showed you, the difference between the wheat and the tares is that is the purpose of the parable of this teaching that Jesus gave. He said, hey, look, it's like a farmer who went out and he sowed good seed. I went out, I planted good quality grain, and I put it down. My neighbor is not my enemy. He's a good friend of mine. But what happens whenever you scatter the seed? The seed is light, right? Wheat is not a light fruit, but the seeds for ryegrass, for the tares, it is a very light. Once again, it's grass. It's not really going to be something that you're going to plant for the purpose of being able to make bread, but rather it is grass. It's hay, and it's carried by the wind. It doesn't go where the farmer plants it. Even in this case, in the parable, Jesus said that the enemy came and he planted intentionally. He completely intentionally planted throughout his entire field this tare, this ryegrass, something that looked almost exactly like the wheat, right up until the point that it started bearing fruit. And man, whenever it starts bearing fruit, you can tell, you can see it in it. The wheat is wheat. You can go out, you can see it. It's growing big fruit. As it starts getting taller because of the weight of the wheat, that plant is actually going to bow down. Even it will bow down. That's one of the ways that you know that it's ready when it's done, is that it is chosen to bow down, versus the tares that have a very light seed. They have a very light head on them, and so as they grow up, they get taller and they'll stick up. They kind of stand up in pride compared to the wheat, which is bowing down. Likewise, in the same manner, it's the picture of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. Whenever we are truly His, we are the wheat, and we are going to bear good fruit, and we're going to bow down to the Father. We will truly live our life in obedience. We will live our life in reverence and in love of the Father, because we are good fruit. And that's compared to the imposter, right? The people who are going to live their life puffed up with pride. People who are going to live the life and do whatever they want to do, regardless of what the will of the Father is. And so, really the big thing in this parable that I challenge you in is, are you living a life that pleases the Father? Are you living a life that truly bears fruit? Whenever you go into the Word and you dig into it, is your desire to be obedient to Him because you trust that He's a good Father? Or do you read it with intentions that you need it to either not be true, or you need it to explain itself away, or you need it to give you freedom so that you can be yourself and be whoever you want to be? Because that's not what it's about. It's about being obedient to the Father. And if you're curious about what it means to be obedient to the Father, I encourage you to start in the beginning. The beginning of the Bible tells us the very character and nature of God, His desires for us. The first 5 books of the Bible are actually called the Torah, which literally means instructions. So if you want to know the instructions, start there. And Anyway, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this. One sip at a time, we are seeking to change the world. So thank you for checking this out. Make sure you like this video, share this video, and I love y'all. Peace.